How common is it for co-ops and condos to run tight budgets, and what are the major reasons for doing so?
It's very common for co-ops and condos to run tight budgets these days because look what's happening out in New York City.
I think it's quite common that buildings run on a zero-based balanced budget.
Everything goes up every year. You're obviously, if your income is not going to go up as well, you're going to be in a deficit budget.
If a board, for whatever reasons, chooses not to raise maintenance or to have an assessment, and the budget's not balanced, and it's slightly in the red, I want to know in your offices how you run their buildings.
It's tough, obviously. I mean, you're borrowing from Peter to pay Paul, especially at the beginning of a year when you've got a lot of your oil expenses going out, your union expenses going out, and it does become a balancing act between you and your vendors.
What do you do? They're running a deficit. What do you do?
So our job really is, first part, is to explain to them that you're not alone. This is happening to 90% plus on the buildings, and that these are what my other buildings are doing. When they hear examples and they hear about how other buildings are dealing with it, then they're not alone in this issue and they're able to better deal with it.
And when they don't want to increase the budget, we say, okay, if you don't want to increase the common charges, then we have to eliminate some of the services that you're used to getting.
Do boards, and even your densest boards, do they get that?
Sometimes boards expect us to print money for them as managers. And then, if not that, they ask us to be money managers. As Tim said, we have to stretch payables. That's the only way, if a board has is running a deficit budget, that you can make ends meet.
They may look at you and say, this is your problem. It's not mine. The vendor's not calling me up.
Boards look over your budget and they say, all right, we're in a $20,000 deficit. Well, not a problem. I think that oil will be $5,000 less for the year, and maybe I think this fee will be less. Voila, we've got a balanced budget. But as business professionals who've been doing this for so many years and deal every year, we're really giving them what is a pretty decent guesstimate.
When we give them the numbers, they know that what we're giving them, that's actually what we think it's going to come in at. You can manipulate maybe a little bit. You're going to have a couple extra sublets that you didn't anticipate and you have sublet income, or a couple extra sales, but for the most part on the general expenses, they know when we tell them this is what we think, it's really what we believe.
And those boards that are giving us more difficulty in putting through the proper increases, we always say that, that's fine, we'll deal with it now, but come June or July, after we've had 6 months of the year under our belt, then we can have an actual versus budget review to see how close we are or how we're doing.
We also have the property manager very involved in the finances, which is, I think, key to not getting to a point where everyone's agreeing to do a lobby and then they're looking and saying, whoops, we can't afford this lobby.
Have there been instances in your careers where you've run into boards that will not raise maintenance because,
of course,
and that you've been forced to resign you can't run the property, so you resign it?
Well, you're not going to resign first. Nobody wants to quit on a building, but I have, let's say, a 1 or 2% tolerance to where you can go deficit budgeting if your reserves are enough, and of course this is with the board's total awareness that you're going to be using 1 to 2% of your reserve capital for working capital for your budget.
I think, as everybody so far has said, we don't like to resign from a building unless the situation has gotten so dire that you aren't able to pay a single vendor. Their payables are through the roof and there's simply not enough money and nobody wants to come to do anything for the building. Then you're not helping yourself in any way in having that building.
Is the budgeting the largest stress?
Yes, without a doubt. But it is a stressful time of year, without a doubt. From September to January 1st is our hard time of the year.
You're interviewed for a building, and if you heard that the board was, didn't want to raise maintenance, or it was always an issue and there was always a stress paying bills, would any of you not take it on?
I'd look at it as a challenge. I mean, I really wouldn't. Taking on new business is always something that's important. I think that boards recognize with change, there's going to be change.
I think we all believe that we know something or can do something that will hopefully help the building. And so I don't think many of us would say that unless we have just such concrete evidence that the numbers are just so absurd. But I think that we all would probably want to think of it as a challenge that we could do it what others can't.
Because we all feel that we're good cost managers and we all feel that we'll find something in the line items that the previous agent missed, and we'll get that budget under control.
I think a lot of times when a management company is changed, it's because the board loses trust or doesn't feel like they're getting the job done, which is similar to you just lose trust in them. So once you're at the meeting and you can give the board a feeling of trust again, you can overcome a lot of the issues that, say, another management company might not have been able to.
That new managing agent may be in the same spot that the old managing agent was in.
Possible.
And that's the ironics of it all, is that at some point the board's got to get it, that it's not the manager, it's really the corporation, as Jeff pointed out. You've got to run it as if it's a corporation. You've got to run it as a break-even budget, and you've got to make sure that you've got enough money and you've got enough line items in that budget really to cover unforeseen capital expenses, because it comes up all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But how rewarding it is when you get to smile if you actually were able to turn it around.
Absolutely.
And for that, we will give you a big round of applause. Thank you very much.